Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Fixing with Friends. Today is chapter 13 of the $300 painting adventure, where I undertook the fairly large task of repainting my entire Datsun. This episode is going to be, for all intents and purposes, the final episode of the $300 painting adventure. There will be one more, but that will be another part of the assembly, which is what this episode is on. And that's just going to cover the fuel tank, and I've kept that separately because it's long enough to be its own thing. It's probably going to be almost as long as this video is. Anyway, at the end of the video, I am going to cover my thoughts, whether or not I would recommend this to you, give you a bit of a review on this trim-clad paint, and show you a bit of an update 2 years on, how that's looked for the paint. But you guys want to see me assembling the car, so let's get to it. So I've gotten this back in. That was pretty easy. I just stuffed it in and put these 3 bolts in. This and then these 2 just to hold those anchor points in. Alright, so that little clip that I lost before, don't want to lose it, but I also can't really set you down in a way you can still see. And it's off and fallen out. As I predicted, the little thing shot out, and I think it might have even skittered out right out the opening. Perhaps I will show again, or perhaps you literally just saw me do that because the magic of video editing. So I'm going to have to replace that. And going to the store, that takes a lot of time. Yes, I'm sorry about my hair. I will cut it immediately upon finishing painting. So, instead of going all the way to the store, that takes time, I'm going to use one of these 3 things. Paper clip, twist tie, or this random brass wire that I have. Basically, I'm going to quickly make up the little clip, but I have to know which, because these all have different properties. One of these is less flexible, which is good for the clip, but it's wider, and blah blah blah. So, we'll do that. Alright, so my first thought, whoops, I took a photo of myself because I can't use a camera still. Alright, first thought was paperclip, which I've now just cut and made this little thing. I've done this before, so that was why I grabbed a paperclip. Sorry. Alright, so it's on. Should have used the wider one, it looks like. For this clip, if you're going to make one, use the wider end. But just to fix this up, I'm going to now pinch the other side together. Flathead. There, see? All secured. Now for this rusty metal clip. Try and keep it stable. This would be a lot easier if I'm not using my fingertips with the camera in between me and where my hand needs to go. There we go. Alright. That's done. So, when you're putting this back in, it's very important you do it in the right order. All this, like the door internal stuff. So for this one, it's got to be, same with the other side. This is the driver's side door, by the way. Door locking mechanisms and handle. Then your mirror. That's what that hole was. Anyway, the mirror. After that, you got to put in your window slider, then the window regulator. You tuck back in there. Then you bolt everything down loosely, wind the window down, put in the top bit of the door trim that's not here right now, and then you can tighten everything up once you know that it's aligned. Something else I'm doing is going through and cleaning the old tracks, applying some new grease, well, new grease, old grease from the grease gun. It's just what I have handy. Something else I'd like to do, I don't know at what point I'll be able to do it though, just because there's a bit of rush right now. Replace this backing. As I've mentioned, all the old foam is gone. I can slide in some thin sound dampening material in here and up top. So perhaps I'll do that at a later date. That would really help make the car quieter, because it's really, when rocks hit the side, that's kind of what you get. So yeah, Nissan's terrible sound deadening, so adding some would go a long way to make the car feel significantly higher quality. It's not bad quality, it's just when you're inside a car with no sound deadening, it sounds like you're in a tin can. Alright, next comes the handle. So, I'm at a bit of an impasse. I can't put this on until I paint it, and I can't paint the car until I put the door on. So, I can either just leave it as it is with the kind of crappy paint job it has, or I can stop for the day, try and paint the plastic parts. Because, like, really it doesn't make sense to paint them unless I'm doing them all at the same time. I mean, it's not super important. It's blackish. It'd be really nice if I could get to this without pulling the window out, but I can't. Man. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with this. I mean, I could mix up some paint and spray just this and the other stuff, but it takes a lot of time, for like a lot of time, like probably a day's work, just pulling everything out, setting up the compressors, sanding and prepping this, and I have to do that for the other stuff anyway, but it's just, I'm going to have to do it twice. I can just do half of it now, or part of it now and part of it later, but it's going to take the same amount of time one way or the other, and basically all I'm doing is not painting this. So I think I'm just going to make do with as it is. If you think I'm wrong, post in the comments. Nah. But let me reiterate, I need to get this done and finished painting before it gets cold again, because I'm not going without my car for another year. That was ridiculous. So that takes priority over anything else, and a slightly better looking black thing is fine. It's not super important. It's not as if the car looks great anyway. It looks decent. You'll see later, but I mean, it's not a show car. Let's put it that way. Yes, this hair looks ridiculous. So rather than doing this all at once, because I have to hold the camera, I'm going to throw it on there. I just coated this in a little bit of paint, slow the rust down a little. I just gotta pop it over. There. And now I can put the rest on. Good. It's on there now. I cut my hair. Yeah. So do you remember that clip we couldn't find? Just wait. Alright, so that was kind of hilarious, but now I can actually take this and replace the paper clip. I mean, paper clip's gonna do just fine, but I have it, so I'm gonna put it back in. Alright, now it's time for the window rails. In goes the dirty window. Alright, if you're wondering where I am, I'm carrying the door. Everything out of the way first. Oh wait, before I forget, I'm gonna run, because this is why I struggled last time. Run these through into the side of the door. I'll just bring you with me. So you want to make it as easy as possible when you're holding the door up. So make sure with the new paint you put the bolts in and run them in and out a couple times. That one's not going in too bad, but anyway, do that so that you can just get the door on just fine when you need to. This is because the last thing you want is to be struggling with a 100-pound door. Well, it's probably not 100 pounds. I have no idea how much it weighs. Yeah, it should run without having to ratchet, like just with your fingers. I'll bring you over here now. Top part. That needs to come up. There. I found it was easiest to first tighten the door to the body only as much as will hold the door, so you can still make adjustments fairly easily. Then you want to put the latch in and tighten it down enough so you can still slide it around when you put a little bit of pressure on it, but otherwise will just stay where it is. That needs to be tightened down. So far it looks at a better height. It's too low down here though. Let's come up a bit. So that way, when you close the door, you can then shift it into the position you want, lift the door handle, and then slide it out so that it's more or less where you want to go, and then you can adjust it a little bit as needed. Okay, whatever. There we go. I'm turning it the wrong way, like a dumb person. Great. Just great. Let's see what we see here. Okay. Looks like it's running ground. It's a little bit high up there. Alright, after some fiddling, this is what I ended up with. It's not perfect, but I don't even know if the door was perfect to begin with. It lines up here, not up there quite. Pretty close though. But then down here, it doesn't. So I may have gotten a chunk out while I was sanding. Who knows? But yeah, it's off by like an 1/8. And then down here, it's really tight. Alright, so I apologize. I got a little too into it and forgot to move the camera so you could see me awkwardly putting the hood back on with just me. The key is to put 1/4 sirens. Always crime here. I swear they're just driving around a block just to screw with someone. Okay, so the key is to put one of these in first. I suggest the bottom one, and then sliding over to the other side and putting the other two in, and then coming back to do the last one. So let's see if I can show you. Yes. And then add the screws here, pick them up, and right now it's just loose because I need to line up the hood. Alright. It's too far that way. If you didn't repaint the bracket, you can see where it was and just put it back, but I had to repaint it, so that's what I did. Alright, you can see that a little bit better now. So it is lined up, so I had basically on the top of the slider, bring it all the way forward on my car. So I'm just gonna tighten these up.
Hell yes.
For some reason that reminds me of a Cylon. See if I put this in the right place. Alright, number 2. Problem is that you need like a little hook. Don't fall. So, I mean, this isn't going to be revolutionary or anything, but if you run into the problem where the holes aren't lined up, there's a little plate behind and it can slide around, which is nice, but not when you're trying to put things back together. So we're going to take a tiny Allen key or Allen wrench, depending on where you're from, and hold it in place. You can see it's more or less lined up now. I've changed my mind. I'm upgrading to a larger Allen key just to make life easier on myself. Prop it up with this one, pop that one in. Do not do the gas tank first or put the lid on, otherwise bad things could happen. High five. I feel like I'm slapping your face right now, I apologize. So I got the tank back in. There's a couple things we're going to check. Zoom out of my face. There's a couple things we're going to check around the car before I try to do anything. So secure. First check. Oh, that's good sign so far. I've forgotten how to deal with the key though. There's a technique for the key, and it's been so long I've forgotten. There we go. Okay, so the radio still works, that's a plus. Speakers aren't hooked up though, so I should make sure this stays off. Yeah, interior lights still work. That light works. This light works. Tail lights functional. Good, good. Headlights are the next check. Full on gangster here right now. Need a belt. This is not how I like to wear my pants. So you can see the headlights are working. I'll just quickly check the indicators. With, I don't remember which button it is. Yeah, that's the one. Positive sign so far. Not so sure how the start's gonna go. It's been sitting for a while. Yeah, the front ones I have not connected, but I'm not gonna do that right now. Alright, well, we're gonna see if this starts. I doubt it because the fuel isn't primed. So on this car, I had learned a cheat from it being annoying to prime the fuel pump. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's priming. Let's give this a try. Well, that's angry. Oh, yep, it's just spraying straight fuel out. So you are going to do me a favor and watch this. Alright, car. Interesting. Opening the throttle makes it turn off. So you can, it's still loud all the way over here. So here's something I think you'll enjoy. Try not to die of carbon monoxide poisoning. I think I can shut the car off now. by forgetting where the washers and spacers went. I made that a lot more difficult on myself than I needed to. Not quite as flush as I would like, but it's where it is. Now in your own light. There you go. Try this again. What do you think? Looks a lot better with the black grill, right? Alright, so I think I've got the technique down now. We'll see though. You have to put it down this way, then twist it on. Basically reverse how it came off, which I forgot. Line it up first. I think that's on. Down here I'm a little concerned about. So that's the end of the video footage I managed to recover from the first hard drive failure we had. But anyway, here's going back to a photo of the car when I first picked it up back in May 2015. That, as we learned, wasn't the original paint on the car. But you can see it's chipped and fairly worn out, and as mentioned originally, it was cracking, which meant that the subsequent paint that I put over top on the paint over paint job that I did the first time, it really didn't hold up. Which brings us to this paint job in 2019, though the paint stripping started in 2018. And this is what the paint looked like in fall of 2021. Which was almost exactly 6 years after I painted it that first time with the paint over paint job. As you can see, there are a couple of spots around the welds that, because the paint didn't seal it properly, because it wasn't perfectly smooth, that a little bit of rust started just around those little areas. Nothing major, but it would definitely be worthwhile if you weren't as averse to Bondo as myself, or if you did just fiberglass or something over top, it would seal it in very nice. But really that's why you want to grind down the welds and make the body flat, just so there's no little tiny... Well, you'll see a little bit of rust spots, same sort of situation, around anywhere where the metal is overlapping itself, because again, it's not perfectly flush. But seam sealer, fiberglass, panel bond, stuff like that can go a long way to slowing the rust. So, what did you guys think? I thought overall the process took longer than I thought. Compared to the first time I did it when it was just paint over paint, that was pretty short. The quality wasn't as good because one, that was my first time painting, and two, there was insufficient light, the temperature was really cold, I didn't have enough compressor, so it was extremely limiting, and even that took a lot longer than it should have. It probably should have taken me about 3 to 4 days to do paint over paint, properly sanding everything down and with all the different layers, or coats. Now we have to get into talking about the paint itself. And I can show you what happened shortly after. So in the pictures you saw up to 2021, that was end of 2021, September, something like that. So about 5 months later in 2022, something started happening, and I could tell you about it and describe it to you, or I could show you. So, I was sweeping off my car the other day, and this is what I found. It apparently flaked off. I don't know how or why, and since it's, you know, got a little bit of surface rust on there, but my guess would be either when I washed the car, maybe there's a tiny pinhole from these, or the more likely thing was that the fact is, with the temperature changing, it was probably down around -30 the last day I had driven it, and then, you know, I went over some bumps, and if the car flexed at all, it probably is what bubbled it off. Or it could simply have been the temperature change, because it went from, you know, down around -30 to about -7. So, you know, it's about a 20-degree temperature shift, and with cold and brittle paint, that might have caused the flaking. There's a little bit of it over here. I'm trying to collect it all so I can throw it out, but it doesn't appear as though someone, you know, scraped it off or something, but anyway, so just gonna quickly touch that up. But otherwise, aside from it's dirty, the paint is holding up still pretty well anywhere that isn't flexing, which is there. Oh, and also it's been almost 3 years, I guess, since I painted. Oh look, there's another flake over there. Make sure I grab that. So it has been on a while, considering the cost. Not too bad. The effort, though, was pretty high. I'm assuming I put in the video. So, yeah, that happened. So before I did the paint over paint, I thought Tremclad was the worst paint in the world, which was back in September of 2015, I think, somewhere around there, October maybe. But it was extraordinarily cheap at the time, so I thought I'd use it. It was like 45 bucks a can. It's now $99 a can, and that's terrible. It's like, especially with the paint doing that. Ultimately, I think the paint started flaking off because of UV exposure. Now, it could have been temperature fluctuations and all these other factors, but given the locations where the paint is flaking off, which is the passenger side door, the roof of the car, and the rear end of the car, and on different surfaces as well. Some of it on the hatch is paint over paint, and that was bound to not stick as well, so I didn't care that much. But then when it was starting to peel it off the other areas, like the top, it was a bit of an issue, and because of where the car is parked, those areas get hit most with the sun. Everywhere else on the car it's holding on pretty well except those areas. So UV definitely seems like the biggest culprit. I would say that the paint can't hold up to the sunlight so well. Anyway, but the fact of the matter is the paint is so expensive. Don't use that paint. If you have it, you can give it a go. It's probably not going to last forever. If you live somewhere with more consistent temperatures, that might help. The other downsides to the Tremclad paint was it wasn't as hard as some of the other paints, even with the clear, so it was fairly prone to chipping. So it's possible that you might be able to do a better job if you get a different primer, or maybe the primer was fine and through painting over top of it, it loosened it up a little bit, or the clear coat. I have trouble believing that because it was fine for so long. I think it was just the aging effect of the sun. Anyway, I digress. Assembling the car, the whole process was pretty good, I think. Not too bad. I would definitely do it, as mentioned, in sections. You know, take a part off, paint it, especially if you're doing one single color, that's what I would do. Pull the parts off, paint them one at a time, and then you can get the car back on the road as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. It is, as of now, 6 a.m. on Christmas Eve, and I did not sleep. I was doing the editing all day and all this morning. So I think we're done, though. So if you enjoyed it, please give it a like, share it, whatever you feel like, and see you next time.